of the first challenge that a new startup baker will most likely encounter is multitasking. For the time being, you're going to be doing an awful lot all by yourself. Before you get into employing staff and having people help you here and there, you are going to be the accountant, you're going to be the baker, the decorator, the cleaner. You're going to do an awful lot all by yourself. So this is a bottleneck period. Everyone will overcome this phase. You just wait it out. Just wait it out. As it becomes more overwhelming, then you will feel the need to fill those various roles with the appropriate staff. So don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Just go through that phase. You will be fine. Another challenge for new startups, and not just new startups, for every baker, is dealing with angry customers. You will at one point in time or the other have a customer who will disagree with you, who will not be satisfied with their cakes, and you have to know how to handle these people. Don't flare up. Don't get mad at your customer. Remember the saying that says that your customer is always right. You have to be very diplomatic and deal with customers very cautiously, very courteously as well. And you have to make sure that you're patient. You don't want to lose your customers. So keeping your customers very, very top on your priority list. You don't want to lose your customers because of a bad attitude. Customers have a right to air their opinions. What you do for damage control matters a lot. Like I always tell my students, it is easier to keep your customers than it is to find new customers. So you really want to make sure that you keep your customers at all means. Otherwise, there are just too many bakers out there willing to take up your customers. Another problem that you may encounter in the bakery industry is consistency in the quality of your cakes. Sometimes we have no control over these things. Today you bake a great cake, tomorrow the cake is perfectly not great, and you're wondering what happened. It might just be the change in ingredients. That's not your fault. You wouldn't know from the pack that the ingredients quality has depreciated or changed. But my little answer to this is, first of all, make sure you dot all your I's and cross all your T's to ensure that you're using consistent quality ingredients. Also make sure that you do your damage control really, because sometimes you don't know until the customer gives you a feedback that your cake is horrible. And sometimes they're not so polite about the way they get back into you about your horrible cakes. So you want to do a damage control, apologize, send a refund where applicable, or send a makeup cake where applicable. These things actually do happen to the very best of us. Okay, it's not your fault sometimes. Sometimes it's even the fault of your baker or your decorator. Sometimes they're just not following the process that you have given them, and you want to ensure that you limit the amount of times that this happens. Okay, it's not like you can completely eliminate it completely, but you want to make sure that at least, it's not happening too often. If it happens once out of every baking process for 6 months, that's forgivable, as long as you do your necessary damage control. You want to make sure you're not having a bad cake day every other week. That's terrible, and it could have a negative impact on your business. Another point that I would like to add, where bakers usually have serious fallouts with their clients, is communication. Communicate. Most times your customers don't have the perfect words to express what they want. So you always have to read it back to them and explain in layman terms what you think you have heard them request for. This is always an issue between bakers and customers. For instance, a customer asks for a fruit cake, and as a baker, a fruit cake is the wedding style type fruit cake with the dried raisins in it, brown with spice added to it. but the customer might actually mean a dessert cake that is topped with strawberries and blueberries and whatnot. So you just don't want to take it hook, line and sinker because the customer has said, I want a fruit cake, deliver a wedding style fruit cake. You want to ask what the customer means. And if you can, supply pictures. Is this what you want? Is this what you meant? Always clarify and make sure you are on the same page with your customer. This is a big challenge between bakers and customers. I have seen this happen too many times, even in my business. And it'll be nice for us to just clear the air on that, nip it in the bud, make sure that you understand what your customer wants. And if perchance, sometimes even with all your clarifications, you still get it wrong, make sure you have policies in place to guide yourself. And there will be instances where there will be no common ground. Your customer will communicate. And despite all your checks and balances to make sure that you understand what the customer is saying, you will still get it all wrong. Damage control. Apologize until you can apologize no more. Give a refund where need be. Give a complimentary cake where need be. And in the instance where your customer will take no apologies and no makeup cakes or whatever, cut your losses and move on. The last point is your raw material sourcing. You want to make sure that you know where to get the most affordable ingredients, the most consistent quality ingredients. You do not want to buy your fat from this source this week and the next week you're going to another source, because you cannot track your quality of your product when you keep jumping from supplier to supplier. So you want to ensure first and foremost, especially for costing purposes, that you stick to one vendor. Of course you can switch when you find a cheaper vendor, but you want to make sure that you're not dropping quality and increasing quality just because you're looking for butter. There are different types of butter brands, and then with different fat ratios to water ratios and whatnot. But you want to make sure that you stick to a vendor who gives you top quality at the best rate. Very, very, very important.